Welcome to Real World Peaceful Parenting, a podcast for parents that are tired of yelling, threatening, and punishing their kids. Join mom and master certified parent coach Lisa Smith as she gives you actionable, step-by-step strategies that'll help you transform your household from chaos to cooperation. Let's dive in.
Welcome. I want to welcome you all to today's episode, and boy, are you in for a treat. I am joined today by two amazing men, mentors, coaches, and dads who happen to be the founder of 4D Athletes. Jim Huber and Jason Holzer are here to join me today. And today we're going to talk about, I know y'all, if you know me at all, you know it's one of my favorite topics, which is kids and sports. And I am super jacked about talking with Coach Jim and Coach Jason about sports today. I'm super excited on the heels of just coming home from an incredible tournament. My son had an opportunity this year to go and play in what's called the 3SSB Adidas basketball tournament. It was an incredibly well-run tournament. Shout out to Adidas. Boy, they do a nice job. And we just had an outstanding time, had an opportunity to, practice the skills of competition, gracefully winning, gracefully losing, trying your best, digging deep and finding that energy. My son's team won one game, their third game by 1 point with 1.2 seconds left to go with a free throw at the line. And it was just fun and exciting, bonding and just all the goodness that can come out of playing sports. So I'm really excited. I want to welcome you, Jason and Jim. These two coaches together have 37 years of combined coaching. So, get ready to learn something today, to be inspired by these two amazing coaches. I know we're going to have a good time talking about the value of sports. So let me pause here and welcome each of them and ask them to give us a little bio, a little background on why they're qualified to talk about kids and sports.
Yeah, Lisa, my name is Jason Holzer, and thank you again for having us on. I've been coaching for about 12 years now, and Jim actually has been my mentor, and he's taught me a lot about coaching. So a lot of what I've learned has come from Jim. So, the background myself, I grew up playing sports, loved playing sports, and then in college, it was like, I know I wasn't good enough to play after beyond that, and so I was like, how can I give back? And how can I stay in the sport? And coaching was just a natural fit. So 12 years later, here I am, and now we have 4D Athletes where we're hoping coaches and parents and kids use the sport to get a little better every day.
Yeah, Lisa, Jim Huber here, and my background is basically, when I got out of playing in college, I wanted to coach, and I got into college coaching, and was doing that for several years, and then I got out and I kind of started a kind of youth basketball program and developed that, and I've been coaching for about 28 years from, basic kindergarten all the way to professionals. And it's really allowed me to understand kind of the youth market, sports in general, but the ways that parents and maybe athletes need to go about sports to have a better experience for everybody and make sure they're not getting used by sports, but using sports in a way that's going to be beneficial for them and their families.
I love it. And that's basically what we're going to talk about today, how to have a better experience. Before we jump into that, can you each also tell us your parents as well? Yes?
Yes. I have a 5 and a 2-year-old, and then I also have nieces and nephews as well. So, and my 5 and 2-year-old, they're typical boys. They like playing outside. They like trucks. They like trains. They also like to play ball. And my 5-year-old does not like to lose. So what does Daddy do? Daddy beats him a lot. So he learns how to lose gracefully, right? Because I was the same way whenever I was a kid. Losing was the worst. I was a terrible loser whenever I was younger. So, yeah, my boys are a lot of fun, though, but they also keep me busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. And Jason said I have quite a few nephews from anywhere from, I think, like 18 to 30 now. So it's interesting when I have my nephews going through sports, and I was kind of guiding them and my sisters and brother-in-laws and everybody. And they said, wait till you have your own children. Wait till you have your own children. And then when I have my own children, it's really shifted the way I look at things, especially working with kids, because I see now kids more as my own kids when I'm working with them, especially when you have your kids. So it shifted my perspective in a positive way of being able to have kids.
Would you say that being a parent has made you a better coach and vice versa, being a coach has made you a better parent?
No question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you just being a parent, you understand what it is to parent a child in a home, right? Mm-hmm. And what they go through. And then also too, is like, you want the best for your child, right? And the emotions can sometimes get the best of you and those type of things. So I see more where parents can come from. But then also too, on the coach side, when I have this experience of 27 years, I'm able to step back and be like, wait a minute, this is what this is all about. And this is what you need, myself need to do as a parent to make sure that we're having a great experience for sports.
I like it. All right, let's talk about this. Why do you each think sports are a great idea for kids? Let's talk about the benefits of being involved in sports, any sport. We're not singling any particular sport out, but
I think for me, it's the value of having a mentor, right? And it's not just playing sports, but it's making sure you are with coaches that care about kids first and winning the trophies, that kind of stuff second, right? So I think that's part of the reason why I think sports can be so beneficial is the social aspect. It teaches life skills like resiliency, like never giving up, working for something that you really want. How bad do you want things? And I think it helps you, understand how to work with other people.
Yes.
And I think those skill sets are crucial as adults, because if you can't work with others, it's going to be tough to succeed in anything you do. The reality of it is we need each other to be successful in whatever we do. So I think those are the things, grit, teamwork, and then mentorship, I think are key for myself and kids playing sports. And
I agree with what Jason's saying. I think the other thing too is like just being active. I mean, if they're not playing some sports or activities that sometimes, what are they doing? They're sitting and playing video games. They're in front of TVs. I mean, we have obesity problems, rampant in our country, and the lack of physical activity. And also I think the imagination, I mean, just getting out and playing. I think sometimes in sports as coaches, sometimes we control things too much. And sometimes we need to allow kids to basically become leaders with them, because they can be leaders being in a team environment. If you let them kind of lead maybe some of the activities and things like that, asking them to use their imagination, what they would like to see and things like that. I think those are beneficial within sports as well.
I like it. I would say I want to add in too, just as a parent of an athlete and as a parent coach, a couple other things I would add onto the list is, I have an only child. So that teamwork is so critical, right? Conflict and just learning how to resolve conflict and being on a team with kids you don't like that aren't your friends, right? I mean, that's been a big, my son happens to be on a team right now with 10 kids. And all of us parents keep talking about how it's a once in a lifetime opportunity because every one of these kids likes each other, respects each other. They're all super talented. I ask my kids sometimes, who do you want to room with this weekend or not? And he's like, Mom, none of us care. We all like each other so much. And when they're not playing, they're all 10 of them jammed into one hotel room, hanging out together. So that's a unique experience, maybe once in a lifetime. But my kid has played with plenty of kids that maybe didn't have the same work ethic or at a different level of talent, whether it be above or below. And he's had to adjust to that, so I would say, and another critical thing I really like about sports is my son has had to take instruction from a lot of different people over the years. Right. And he's had a lot of coaches. When he was really little, he played multiple sports. At one point, he was playing lacrosse, soccer, and basketball. Right. And lacrosse has like 4 or 5 coaches per team. And, he's had some coaches he gelled with and some he didn't. And to me, that's a metaphor for bosses in life. Right. And I don't even care what you do for a living. You have a boss, whether they're your customers or your board or your your manager. And also goals. I think team sports is a way for kids to set goals. Even if they're not, the best player on the team, the goal can be, I'm going to make my free throws this game, or I'm going to, have no steals dribbling the ball down, even at a young age. And I think that goals are really important. The sooner we can get our kids thinking about goals, I think the more it helps to develop the emotional intelligence. You guys want to?
At least going back to that, I think, but like you said, what not only designing goals for their life, for what they want and little things that they can put down, but I think also developing habits, positive habits, right? I think in sports, it's so much in that, like, okay, You're going to show up for practice. We're going to do certain things each and every day. Here's what you need to do outside of practice, whether it's certain workouts or stuff to make sure that you're getting better. Going to bed at certain times, whether you're in a sport team, you got a game the next day and you're getting rest, hydration, drinking, eating certain foods to make sure your body's at optimal, levels to perform. I think there's so much that goes on. If you want to compete at a high level and be really successful, there's really positive habits you need to instill in your life. And I think sports is something that to me reinforces it and get kids doing that. And not only these habits help them in sports, but, later in life as well.
Well, and Jim, to piggyback off that, one more thing is excelling in the role you've been given, right? So I think that's also important too, because, a lot of guys want to be the captain. They want to be the, basketball. They want to be the guy making the points. But if you're the guy that's a great screener to get that guy open, that's another thing too. So knowing what your role is and accepting it, but also aspiring to be better by doing your best at this role, because that's kind of like you prove yourself at this point. Now coaches can trust you with whatever's next for you. And I think that whether you're the person managing the team, helping them get water, or whether you're the captain that people look up to, knowing what your role is and excelling at that will help you no matter what you do.
And I agree with that. And I think it's real important that, like, if kids don't understand the roles on teams or what's going on, they need to ask. And I really recommend parents to get the kids to ask themselves, especially, I don't care if it's like 6th grade, 7th grade, whatever, if you need to be in a gym and the coach there, get the kids confident enough to communicate with their coaches, right? And find out what that is. And then also as parents, allow them to understand this is your role. If you want it to be different, here's what you have to do. Don't be that micromanaging parent that tries to pull them out of the situation and make it better for them. Let them figure it out. So now it's a life lesson. You don't like this? Where you're at? Well, here's what you got to do to become better. Do you want to do it or not? Right? It's completely up to you. And I think there's so many life lessons that can be learned through sports, but I really feel like parents, the helicopters, and they're overbearing and they're trying to safeguard their kids, and they're taking away these experiences and these opportunities for kids to learn these life lessons.
I like it. I agree. I want to talk about one more thing, one more benefit. I want to get your input on this, and then we'll talk about the parent side of things. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I stumbled across this picture the other day of my little boy. He was about 3, and we had one of those, I don't know what to call them, like entry-level basketball hoops, the plastic ones that you get your kids, And I forgot that we had gotten my kid one when he was 2. And I have this picture of him at about 3 years old that he's dunking the ball, and so it's now my kid's Instagram photo. It's so cute. And, one thing we've worked on from a very young age is coordination. And, I want you guys to talk about this, having played sports yourselves and then coached for so many years. I personally believe that you cannot overlook the value of getting kids active in sports early on. And here's one of the real benefits, I think. If your kid can start to develop coordination, and I don't think coordination is born, I think it's developed, right? Talking about like growth versus fixed mindset. I think that the more coordinated a child can be, whether he goes on to play sports later in life or not, the more it raises their self-confidence. I'm really seeing that connection there, between the more coordinated I am and the more I can do things, the more self-confident I am. I wonder if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things. One is I do think, movements and how people move, and you can, teach people how to run and how to have different movements and those type of things. And I think playing sports at young ages can be good. I feel like specializing too early is not good. Playing a variety of sports that has different movements can help you develop that coordination. And I think one thing, like just even, Jason, I talk a lot about, like, we have, again, a kindergartner or preschool kid, and we're not even having a sports. We get asked, but it's like, it's too early to me, but I can have them outside, play tag, run around, chase each other, right? They're doing movements. They can do games and movements and work on that. And I think that can help. But I do think there's ways you can find performance type coach, agility coaches that they can go and help them with that type of stuff. with movements, but I think the more sports they play, different sports have different movements that are going to help them become coordinated as well.
Yeah.
Well, and Jim, to piggyback off that, as a PE teacher, I also think having them watch other people do those movements, because then you get their imagination, and everything starts in your mind. If you see yourself doing it and you believe yourself doing it, then your body will follow. So I think that's important too, is build confidence and know that, hey, you're not going to be very good at some of this stuff at first. That's okay. And even go, hey, whenever you were a baby, you had to crawl before you had to walk, right? And you fell down a lot, but you got back up. So I think that's important too, understanding like, hey, you know what? It's okay if you're not very good at it first, but just focus on the growth mindset of getting a little better every day. And enjoying it. And I think for parents, celebrate that growth too. Like, hey, last week you were tripping over your feet, you're falling down with the soccer ball. This week, look at that. Hey, you're able to dribble a little bit. You're able to kick the ball in the soccer goal. Like, great job. Whatever it is, celebrate the growth. And again, watching them, having them imagine it in their mind over and over again, seeing that success, and they'll be more confident and their body will follow what their mind sees.
Going back to that though too, Jason, like you see a lot of times where there's kids that start in sports and they look uncoordinated, right? They and people give up on them. And sometimes these individuals haven't grown into their bodies.
Yes.
Right. And I've seen it. I've worked with kids that they look like they can't even play. Like that in a cowboy movie, like they were sixth grader and they should go maybe in the band. And all of a sudden they're playing in college. Right. And I tell parents all the time, there's chronological age and there's maturation age. Some kids mature early, they're in their bodies, they function really well. Some kids haven't, and they mature later in life. And sometimes that's a good thing, right? Because they start to have this growth and maybe they get frustrated because things aren't happening so easy for them. Because sometimes when things are happening easy for kids, they don't work as hard. Mm-hmm. When things aren't happening the way they want, they sometimes want it more and they work harder. So that can be a good thing. But I think that, like I said, for parents and people to be patient with kids, not to get quick judgments, say, oh, that kid can't be any good. He's not this. He's so coordinated, trips over this. It can come through time.
Yes. And I think that if your kid falls into that category, the encouragement is to put the work in, right? It's not the result, it's the effort, right? It's put the work in to get there and it will come. Very rarely do you see a kid who puts the work in and the result doesn't come, and I want to speak, from my personal experience. I think one of the reasons my son is pretty good at basketball today is because when he was little, he played soccer and lacrosse, which that developed that, hand-eye coordination and foot-eye coordination and the running and being able to kick the ball. And so, and the funny thing is in our family, we joke around that lacrosse made him a great basketball player because my kid is not afraid of contact at all. He never shies away from it because of the lacrosse, which is just an awesome game for little boys that want to hit each other all the time. I remember that I didn't really know much about lacrosse. My son started playing it in Massachusetts. And one day I look around and I realize that the parents are literally encouraging the kids to hit each other with the stick. My kid was like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. Usually my mom's telling me not to do something. And now it's like, the parents are yelling, get in there, get him, hit him. And, so I do think multiple sports rather than specializing too early helps the child and prevents burnout. Burnout is a big deal.
Yeah. And I think what you talked about too on that, Lisa, is that I tell parents all the time, variety of sports, let them do it.
Yeah.
And and let them figure out what they really want to do. Because when they get to about 13, 14, 15, like a freshman high school, you're going to start seeing the things that they really want to do. Yeah. Maybe it's like you said, your son just wants to play basketball. Maybe he wants to play basketball and he wants to play, baseball, whatever. Maybe it's two sports. I don't know. And then you can start being, hey, well, I get it. And we'll nurture you in those areas, provide resources because you want to do it, because it's that internal fire that comes from within. So they're not going to burn out when a parent's trying to force them to do something they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Jim, you can't miss something that never goes away, right? That's why specialization really doesn't help kids. So I think there's a factor of allowing kids to miss a sport that they love. It may not be for a long time, but hey, you know what? It's baseball season's over. We're going to go do something else. You can pick. You can give them a choice. You want to do soccer or football this fall? Which one do you want to do? But baseball is done. Or hey, now baseball or football is done. We're going to do basketball or indoor soccer, whatever it is. allow them to miss some of the sports, because then that might make them want it more because they have something to look forward to moving ahead.
And I agree. I think something I want parents to understand. I'm not saying that, okay, I'm basketball's over, and say it's in the spring and it's like baseball, whatever we're doing, and you can't pick up a basketball, right? I coach kids that are kind of also in like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, have teams, and I only do it seasonal now, because just think we just do from basically almost November, October, a little bit in October till about February. After that, I'm like, go do other stuff. If you want basketball, if you want to be on another team, I'll help you. But I'll tell you what, I would just challenge you to just do some skill development on your own, do some 1-on-1, play some 3-on-3, 2-on-2, have some fun, just play, have a good time, and focus on that other sport. So I want parents to understand, we're not saying like never pick up that baseball or basketball during the season, but are you going to go play on 2-3 different teams? I'm playing on a basketball team, I'm playing on a baseball team, I'm playing on a soccer team, and now you're running around, you're going to all these practices and games, and you're getting them worn out. I think you really have to really balance that out, that part of it.
I like it. All right, let's talk about this. So one of the reasons that I wanted to have you guys on the podcast is because at 4D Athletes, you talk about the 3 ways to become a great sports parent. And I've been a sports parent for a long time. I've had my shining moments and my not so shining moments. And I wish that I played a little sports growing up, but I wasn't very coordinated. My family wasn't really into it. So when it became pretty clear that my son really loved sports and that we were going to, really be into this for many years. I mean, my son's been playing basketball since 2nd grade. We spent pretty much every weekend, of the 52 weeks a year, I would say we easily have spent 40 weekends a year at a basketball tournament. So that's a lot of time. And I wish that when he was little, I would have heard the 3 ways to become a great sports parent. I needed this information back then. So let's get into this. I want to talk through 1, 2, and 3 and give us some advice, guide us on your model. So you say number 1, model positive behaviors. Tell me about that.
Well, kids typically behave by what they see, so if you want kids to act a certain way, then you have to be the example of that first. You can't be the person yelling, screaming on the sidelines, but then having your kids say, hey, make sure you calm down and stay calm in the game, right? So model what you see. If you want to see positive behavior, do a check-in before you walk in the door. There's probably going to be calls that are not going to go your way. Hey, there's a good chance that you might lose. You got a 50-50 shot. So I think being aware of all these possibilities ahead of time, and then seeing yourself like stay calm, no matter what situation, will help you in those maybe possible trigger moments where you might get, agitated or irritated or frustrated. Be able to stay calm and allow your kid to have a great experience because you have been the example of what you want to see in your own children.
And like what Jason's saying is that we've talked about before, like I've seen my kid in the house, at the age of like 7, doing things to my like 4-year-old at the time, like losing his control, getting frustrated. And I'm like looking at him like, that's me. Oh my gosh. Because they're going to emulate you. They become you. Yeah. So again, if you're going to a sporting event and you're acting like, I always say this, and parents hear me on this. A lot of the problem in youth sports is parents. Parents are crazy. They can't think straight. When it comes to going to an athletic event that my son or daughter's in, they lose themselves. You look at sometimes you're like, that over there is that dentist that we go to, or that's the doctor over there. That's Jason, the PE teacher. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So if you're losing yourself, right, your children look at you and now are they going to be able to play present? Are they going to be able to be calm? Are they going to be able to be, the best version of themselves on the field, court, whatever it is? More than likely not. So again, it starts with you and making sure, again, they're reflecting back what it is you want.
I love it. Episode 27 of the podcast was all about modeling. And, you both know, we talked about this before, kids don't do what we say, they do what we do. So if you're arguing with the refs about every call, your kid's going to argue with the refs about every call because you're showing that that's what we do in this family, right? We question every ref on every call. We call them names. We argue with them. And then when your kid does it on the court, you shouldn't, if you're going to do that, don't be surprised, right? Because that's what you're saying is in this family, we treat those people that way. And, I'll never forget, we were at this game one time. I think my son was probably in sixth grade. He was playing on a team and the other team was up by, it was a lot. Let's say like 50, 60 points. And this dad, it was like 4 minutes left to go and they're up 60 points. And this dad is just screaming at his kid to keep bearing down, score more, try harder. And I just remember it was a moment for me where I was like, wow, really? You're going to win the game. You're up 60 points. And it's at the point, sometimes at games, it gets awkward. The one team is up so much, everybody's sort of like, trying to be respectful. And this dad is just screaming at his kid on the court. And there's this moment where I just realized everybody was sort of staring at him. And then the kid, of course, is on the court, doing the crap, growling. And you can see this connection. And, I'm a competitive person, so I'm all for competition. But to your point, model positive behavior.
And Lisa, I go to this, like parents that I've coached teams and I have been part of the organization, I'll tell them, listen, here's what I want from you. Okay. When you're sitting in the stands, I don't need you coaching. I don't need you saying anything to your child. Nothing. X and O's, take them to the basket, do that. No, nothing. Right. All I need you to just clap, cheer, right? Support them, good or bad. Okay. And then I don't need you talking to the other parents, even though they can act a little bit obnoxious, getting on the officials. I don't need you saying anything to officials. Officials, some of them are getting paid $20. They're not professional officials, right? So they're not great at what they do. They're going to make mistakes. They're human. I need you modeling what we need from the stands, because here's the key thing I hear all the time. My son, he didn't play present, or my son made this mistake and a compound this mistake and he couldn't get himself back in the flow or whatever. Well, look at you. When you're sitting there, I don't know how many times when a kid makes a mistake in a game, the parents get so emotional. They go with the ups. Oh my God. Oh, he just, and then, oh, he does great. It's like almost like conditional type love, those emotions. Kids see that. They feed off on it. So again, being even kill, and we always talk about Jason, like just that mentality is like good thing, bad thing, don't know, just relax.
Yeah.
This could be a good thing for him.
Yeah.
Right. Even kill.
I have to say, I love what you just said. And any coaches listening to this episode, I wish that every coach my son had ever had would have set those expectations with the parents, myself included, because those are the things we need to hear. And I think so often coaches fail to inform the parents of, this is how you can help the team. This is what we need from you. I will say, parents, in the basketball world, you do also have to help with the score, because so often they get the score wrong. We had a little score kerfluffle this weekend. And
even that, Lisa, a couple of things I want to say on that is like, so here's the thing to understand too, when you say this, is like coaches need to talk to parents, but when you go to a basketball game, these tournaments, you can see certain teams, kids acting like nutty, right? And acting unprofessional, bad sportsmanship. And you'll see the fans in the stands, the parents acting the same way.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you know what they are. Now, going back to what you said, I used to tell this too, because I hear that these scorekeepers sometimes at these tournaments, sometimes it's the parents that got to volunteer to sit at the table. They're paying entry fee to get in, and then they got to go sit at the table and keep score. And then you got parents going nuts on them because they don't do the score right, whatever. So I tell parents too, I go, listen, relax, communicate. Let's do it in a positive way, because otherwise you come over and get on the scoreboard. Half the parents are hiding in the bathrooms, restrooms. They don't come out until almost the game start because they don't want to be at the score table.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah. A few years ago, we went to a tournament in Portland. It was a big tournament, and the parents had to keep score, and I kept score for about 4 games. And I did develop a whole new appreciation for all that's happening and how easy it is to hit the wrong button and whatnot. But yeah.
I said one thing on that real quick. I'll let you go. I was at a game. My dad had to volunteer to keep score, and I was coaching his team. And this is like 7th, 8th grade basketball. And he made a couple, he was like start and stop it. And this guy was just going nuts on him. He was just going nuts. So I got the official. I stopped the game, and I went over to the guy and I said, listen, this guy is volunteering at the score table. So here's the deal. You don't like what he's doing? Get off the bleachers, come over here and sit down. You do it. You do it. He wouldn't do it. But I said, so you're not going to do it. So then don't say anything. If you're going to do it, say it in a polite way. And so kind of, but anyway.
So you were a coach in 7th grade.
I mean, I've coached anywhere from 3rd grade teams all the way to college teams. So I've been at all different levels. So.
Yeah. Okay. So number 2 is set the future and enjoy the present. Tell us what you mean by that.
Lisa, I think that it's important to understand, like, your kids are only going to play sports for so long. Even if they play in college, even if they make it to the pros, sports is a very front-loaded career in our lives. I mean, for the most part, that's enjoyable for parents, right? So we always say, hey, be happy with the present, but be excited for what's ahead. And what I would tell is, like, hey, what the thing I would say is most is, like, what's the gift and opportunity in this situation? Your kid's sitting on the bench. What's the gift and opportunity in this situation? What are they learning? No, don't try to, like, save your kid again from every experience. Maybe feeling uncomfortable sometimes is the motivation they need to get more playing time or to get better. You name it. If they see every sports experience as a gift and an opportunity for growth, for understanding, for empathy, for all of these things that we need to be more innovative to take more decisive action, you name it, then we got to allow our kids to be there. And then for us, it's like, I enjoy watching you play. Then, if you say that to a kid, like, wow, like, that's completely, like, builds their confidence up, but so many times, like Jim mentioned, a lot of parents are telling kids what they want to do wrong. And the worst part is, a lot of kids say that the worst part about sports is the ride home. Like, they've already been coached for an hour and 15 minutes, or maybe it's an all day at a tournament. The last thing they need is their parent who has maybe a limited experience, whether they're playing out the sport, telling them what else they should do. And I guarantee you, more times than not, it's going in one ear and out the other, because they've just been coached for a couple hours already in that one day.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to this when you talk about being in the present and, the future you see, but most parents don't understand statistics and numbers in sports, right? If you sat there and I told somebody, because most parents, a lot of these people have their kids in sports saying, oh, my kid's going to play in college, going to get the college scholarship paid for. They're going to play professional. Okay. And I'll be like, let me ask you something. If you had 100% scholarship, all the money, college scholarships, and you had divided up academic and athletically, what percentage is each? And they'll give you numbers like 60, 40, 50, whatever. And I'll be like, it's 85 to 88% academic. And it's 12 to 15% athletic. Your child has more opportunity to get an academic scholarship than an athletic scholarship. So let's get that straight first. And then I'll be like, what percentage of kids that are seniors in high school get an opportunity to play a college sport, right? And they'll give you different numbers, kind of have some high numbers, but like less than 6% if you count NAI, NCAA, junior college, all these different levels. But NCAA, less than 3%. NCAA Division I, almost less than 1%. So your child has such a low percentage of playing past it. So here's my deal. And also 70% of kids quit playing a sport by the time of 13. So why don't you enjoy the moment that they're in right now, embrace it and what they're doing. And as Jason said, let them grow, get better from it. And let's have a good time as a family with this experience of sport, because they might stop playing in the 7th grade, that sport. It could happen. And I'd see too many parents that have regrets, or parents later that have their older, like couple children that went through and now they got a younger one, go, we changed the way we think about it now. I got a sister and brother-in-law that have a kid he's a senior in college, a sophomore in college, or a junior in college, and a freshman in college. And they're like, we wish we would have went through sports a little bit differently than what we did. Year round, going to all these workouts, doing stuff. And 2 of the kids didn't even play college sport. The other kid's a preferred walk-on at University of Iowa playing football. But if we'd have known, we'd have changed how we went about it and then been more in the present moment, just enjoying the experience of where they're at.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, yeah, my son hopes to play college basketball, but, it may or may not happen. There's a lot of factors.
Here's with you, Lisa. He might play, and he might play as a freshman, but then he might stop playing as a freshman, or he might stop sophomore. The transfer portal right now in sports
Yes.
at the college level is ungodly. I mean, you talk about thousands of all sports. So these kids are transferring left and right because a lot of times these kids don't have the skill sets. They haven't been prepared. They haven't been held accountable because in a lot of these youth sports like basketball, we can relate to it. It's some of these you get to certain levels, elite levels, they try to cop kids to play for them, right? The shoe circuits, all this. And if you don't have certain type of kids, then, you could lose, as a sponsorship or this or whatever. So they're trying to get the best kids, right? Well, if the kid's not having a good time, what are they going to do? Let's go to another program.
Yeah.
So now you're disabling the kid because you're not holding them accountable. And what accountability is going to be at the college level, some of the kids aren't even prepared for it. And parents disable them, coaches do in somewhat, just to maybe get at, certain levels or win certain games or tournaments or whatever it might be.
Yeah. I read a statistic the other day that said that 40%, the number is only 40% of Division I basketball players stay at the same school all 4 years. 40%.
Crazy.
And, the other thing that we haven't brought into the equation also, if you have older kids who are show interest in athletics, is the grade part of it too. Just making sure that they can be successful at that school, wherever they're going to go, juggling a lot of different, juggling the academic expectations coupled with the athletic expectations, which is probably a whole nother podcast. But
yeah, that goes back to like understanding how to select the right schools, questions to ask, how to go through the process to make sure you're selecting the best school that's going to be for you and your child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Set the future, enjoy the present. I think that's great advice. I will say that my husband does a great job every single game. Before my son gets out of the car, my husband tells him, you have two jobs. Number one, have fun. We're constantly reminding our kid to have fun, enjoy it. And number two, work hard. And those are only expectations. Your minutes on the court, you got to do your part. You got to do your part. But we always say first, have fun.
I love that because I tell my kids now, and I heard somebody talk about this, but I'm like, okay, we're going to go have what? And they say fun, right? We're going to go do what? We're going to work what? Work hard, right? And we're going to have a positive attitude. Yeah. And we're going to go what? Be a great teammate, right? We're going to do those things. Win or lose, go out and make as many mistakes you want. Love you either way. Doesn't matter. Let's go.
Say those four again so that people can hear those and remember them.
Have fun, as you mentioned.
Yep.
Right. Let's go work hard. And I almost say like, be at your best, but you can say like, give best effort, be at your best, but work hard. So have fun, work hard, positive attitude, be a great teammate.
Oh,
and do those
attitude
and let everything take care of itself. Like I go back to this, Lisa, think about this, like with parents, and then kids kind of look at me strange because I think we put too much pressure on kids and they lose their confidence or they're afraid to make mistakes. But I tell kids all the time, like your son, if I was talking to your son, I'd be like, Malcolm, right? Is your son?
Yeah, Malcolm.
Yeah. Yeah, Malcolm, why do you shoot the basketball? He's like, to make it. That's what they all say. I was like, you don't shoot it to make it. It's like, what? Don't shoot. No, you don't shoot to make it. Why do you shoot it? He's like, you shoot it because you earn the right to shoot the shot. It's an open shot. It's a good shot. And if you don't shoot it, you're selfish. And what you do is you let the results take care of itself. Because when kids start to shoot or they kick a ball, they try to get up and hit, and they get so tight and they think, I got to hit the ball. I got to make the shot. You don't have to do that. Because you know how it is, your body tightens up and all of a sudden you can't function the way that you normally do just in a practice in a driveway or whatever it is. So taking the pressure off of yourself to understand, I don't have to make this. I don't have to hit it. I just got to do this because I earned the right. I'm up here and I'm the best person for the job right now.
I love it. I love it. Let's say those again. So have fun, work hard, positive attitude, and great teammate. Boy, if that isn't the recipe to life, that applies to, let's just be honest here, being a great partner, spouse, co-parent, have fun, work hard, great attitude, great teammate, a boss, a coworker relationship, your mother-in-law, your neighbor, right? I mean, come on. You have just given us, 4D Athletes has just given us the recipe to life. Have fun, work hard, great, positive attitude, great teammate. We're going to, we're going to make a poster on that one. And
now we got to give a credit. Who was on our podcast that did that, Jason? That was you remember Royals? He was performance.
Joe Goldberg.
No. The Royals.
Freddie Sandoval.
Freddie Sandoval told me that. He told me his kids, and I was like, Freddie, because I did a few of those, but I didn't do all four. And when he said all four, I was like, Freddie Sandoval. I was like, that's. I love that.
Golden.
Thank you, Freddie Sandoval, for giving us the map to success in life. All right, let's talk about number 3. Encourage risk-taking and find joy in the present.
I think it's many times the fear of failure or the fears in general hold us back from being the best version of ourselves. And I think, Michael Jordan said it best. I've failed millions of times, and that's why I've succeeded. And so a lot of times I even caught myself this, like, kid makes a mistake and you immediately want to correct him, or like, hey, things should be done a certain way, right? And whenever they mess up, you're quick to not allow them to work through it themselves and maybe find a better solution. So I think it's giving your kid an opportunity to fail. And I've actually heard this. One of our podcast guests said this. Is like, I have a goal of failing 100 times or getting 100 no's before I get 1 yes, just to get used to hearing that, so it doesn't detract me from any kind of fear or getting in the way. And I think if you can find joy in failure, then success is going to happen naturally, because you're not worried about what other people think. You're not worried about how you look in front of other people. It goes back to just, trying your best, and failure is feedback. Okay, here's what happened. How do I get better the next time? What do I do from that? It's not final. Failure is not final. Failure is just feedback. And I think too many times in our education system, we see what kind of grades we get, or, or maybe we lose a lot at the beginning in life, or, you name it, and we judge ourselves. We're our biggest critic, and we're too nervous or too scared to try new things because we're maybe too scared about what other kids might think. We just want to fit in as opposed to stand out. You name it. There's a lot of things. But I think if you are just confident in yourself, and again, believe that every opportunity is a growth opportunity, a chance, a gift, an opportunity, then you're going to find that failure is going to happen no matter what. And what's the opportunity in that?
And I think going back to that as a parent, this is my challenge for parents. Okay. I see too many parents show conditional love. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, your kid just had a double-double, had a great game. Oh, Malcolm, oh my God, he played so well. I love it, whatever. And then he goes the next game and he goes 0 for 8, doesn't score a point, he fouls out, has 1 rebound. Malcolm, gosh, dang it. Mm-hmm. Right? What the hell went on there? And all frustrated, and you're all tight. And they can see it like I do well. They're excited. My parents are happy. They love me. I don't do well. They're disappointed. They're frustrated. So my challenge goes back to this with parents, like Jason said earlier, the car ride home or after a game. Will you please stop going up to kids and being like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? What was wrong with you there? I tell parents, even if they did well, oh man, it's a great game. You hit 6 3-pointers. You did this. Awesome. Or I see parents in the stands. They got their notebook and they're charting stats and all that type of stuff. Come on, man. Seriously. At 5th, 6th grade, basketball, whatever. So what I tell parents all the time is this: instead of complimenting them on the statistics and numbers, like after the game, like, hey, Jason, you know what? I know you missed your first 4 shots. You weren't shooting it that well, but you know what? I'm proud of you. You stayed aggressive. You kept shooting it, and you finally hit that one. I'm proud of you, man. Or, hey, you know how that official made that bad call, right? And I know that was calling to get you fouled out of the game, whatever. You didn't show them up and palms up, shrug them off. You ran off the court. You got to the bench, listened to your coach, sat down, and you cheered your teammates on when you fouled out. Man, I was impressed by that. That was selfless right there. That showed me something, man. That's a great teammate. Oh, when you threw the pass and your teammate turned it over and messed up and coach was getting on him, how you went over there and cheered him up and got a pat on the back. I was proud of you for that, man. What are we doing to have them understand, hey, you sat on the bench for this period of time. We're playing it all. And coach finally put you in. I loved how you got aggressive and made some steals and made some plays in defensive end, helped that team have success. Man, I'm proud of you. Stayed with it, man. You didn't pout on the bench. You're ready. You're prepared. These life lessons that we're learning and that we reemphasize with them. And it's that growth mindset. It's not just you hit the shots, you hit the baseball, you made these goals and that type of stuff where you get these ups and downs. It's ups and downs in life. It's ups and downs in sports. How do our children respond to these situations? And now if you can sit there and encourage them and you identify these things that they're doing, now what are they going to do? They're going to start thinking these are really things that I'm getting encouraged about. And now maybe you're going to implement them at home and school and the different activities.
And Lisa, the last thing I want to say on that too is parents, your kids' success in sports has nothing to do with your success as a parent. Mm-hmm. A lot of times parents associate how successful they are as a parent depending on how great of an athlete their kid is. And those are two separate things. So don't tie your success as a parent with how good of an athlete your kid is.
But it goes back to that, Jason. So like you said, not so much as an athlete, but are they a great teammate? Are they a great communicator? Are they have a positive attitude? Right? Are they a passionate individual? Do they sit there and fight through adversity? Right? Those are the qualities and characteristics. As me as a parent, and Jason, we talk about, I want my kids to embody that.
Yeah.
Whether they play, I'm a basketball coach. I've coached for many years. Been in sports, love sports. And I tell my kid all the time, son, you don't have to play basketball. You don't want to play basketball? Don't play basketball. If you want to, and you want to go to some stuff, I'll help you, whatever. If you want to shoot outside, let me know. But I'm not going to force it upon you, right? And so I think when we understand, but if I get my kid, somebody coming back saying, hey, your son Caden's a really respectful kid. Your son Caden was really good at camp. He's a great listener. I love hearing that, right?
It's so much good stuff here. I mean, I only wish that I would have known you guys when my son was in second grade, because a lot of what you've talked about, I couldn't agree more. I've learned some of those lessons that you spoke of the hard way. And everything you said, there's so much value in, one thing I think that Dave and I do really well is we behave the same on the ride home from the game as if they've won by 50 or lost by 50. Malcolm took the winning shot or missed it. And that's something that when the game is over, he gets to think about it and work it out with his coach, but we don't break it down. We don't analyze it. There's no conditional love. He feels loved regardless of how he performs. There's just so much goodness in everything you both just talked about.
Hey, Lisa can add this, and that's awesome. I want to add something. In sports, there are relationships that are broken. Parents and kids sometimes have not good relationships. And there's hurts, right? Things that have happened. I've had parents that have told me, it's like, man, what I did, my child, man, that's like our relationship's not as good because of that. And I'm like, okay, you see now you have a higher level of awareness. You admit it. Sit down with them and apologize. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sorry, son. I didn't realize what was going on at that time and what I did. I hope you can accept my apology. I never wanted to be like this for you. And I just want to let you know. Like sometimes just apologizing and admitting it to the individuals and getting that stuff up front where you can have some healing through it. Because I'm telling you, sports can be a good thing, but there has been situations through sports that have been fragmented relationships that have taken place from coaches to athletes, from parents to athletes, to parents to coaches. And there's ways that we can be aware of it, admit it, and then go look for some healing in that process to ask for forgiveness and be in a conversation about it.
I couldn't agree more. Repair and recovery is always possible. And the more we show our mistakes and take accountability for them, the more our kids learn that. We have to model that for them in sports. If that happens, that's a great way to do it at any age at all. So I agree with you 100%. Well, I know that every person listening to today's episode has just gained, first of all, the roadmap to success, right? I mean, thanks, Freddie Sandoval, for laying it out for us. And, the 3 ways to become a better parent, sports parent. We talked about growth mindset. We talked about finding the joy in failure, which I really love. And I'm going to leave here and immediately go talk to my kid about, because I think that's an area that we could get better in our family. We also talked about why sports are great for kids. The activeness, the teamwork, all the life skills that can be learned. So thank you. I know everybody listening is appreciative of the information and the lessons and the inspiration you both have brought today. So tell us, if parents want to take this to the next level, want to work with parents, coaches, want to work with 4D athletes, where do they go to do that?
Yeah, you can go to 4dathletes.com, and then there we have a downloadable, the Mamba Mindset, and you can also book a call with us on our website as well.
And going back to that, like as a parent, what I suggest for a parent is we developed a course like navigating your child through sports, and it's 25 tips. And what we've done is we break it down, and like we do videos, Jason and I, it's like I'm the parent, Jason's the athlete, and it's almost situations where like he's playing and it's like, drive it, Jason, shoot it, Jason. And he's confused, doesn't know what to do, makes mistakes, trying to listen to coach. And afterwards, it's like the dad comes up and goes, come on, Jason, man, you pick your head up. You need to do better next time. He's like, Dad, can I talk to you? You know, when I play, you talk me from the stands trying to coach me, and I can't be like relaxed and listen to my coach, and it's confusing. And then at the end of it, it's more like, I'm glad my dad was willing to listen to me. I wish all parents know this, or I'm glad that my son talked to me. So it's more of getting parents to think and creating a high level awareness. So there's 25 tips that we go through that if you follow these tips, I will promise you that you're going to have a better experience as a parent. Your child is. The coaches and administrators in the sports that you're involved in are going to have a better experience. So we put that together because one of the reasons, Lisa, I went to a mandatory parent meeting in Blue Valley School District, Kansas City, big school district. I was in an auditorium that should be 2,000 people, and Blue Valley should be a lot of parents at this mandatory parent meeting. I walk in, there's like, I think 22 parents there. I'm like, why am I at this 22 parents at a mandatory parent meeting? And they had this director of the Heart of America College Conference come in, and she was talking about parenting. I'm like, wow. I'm taking notes, going through it. And she gets done. She goes, some of you probably are asking, why was this mandatory? And you only see 22 people here. She goes, the reason being, if it wasn't mandatory, there'd probably be one of you here. Mm. And I was looking, it was like a 2-hour deal, and parents were kind of zoned out, looking at their phone, not paying attention. So Jason and I talked about making it more micro lessons, making it to where they could, from their home or from their, or from their phone or tablet or whatever on their own time, right, driving their car. Right. And if they listen to stuff over and over again, and we have a kind of a notebook they go through and stuff, I promise you, you'll have such a better experience, and you'll save so much time, money and resources, because you'll understand what this whole youth sports is about.
Yeah. And you'll be better connected with your kids because you'll really understand the do's and don'ts. Again, I wish that, I could rewind time back to second grade and have, the 4D athletes course available. Because a lot of what I know today, I learned at the School of Hard Knocks by making those mistakes you've spoken of. And, I really understand my role now. I'm a cheerleader for all the kids on the team. I'm there to buy pizza at the end of the night, get everybody to the games, make sure uniforms are clean, and be a cheerleader. And that's all I'm there to do. And I love it. It's, I get to go and enjoy. So
and when you do that, you're more relaxed as a parent. And you said you enjoy the experience, right? You're not so uptight, right? And again, hey, listen, your son Malcolm is going to be a senior in high school next year, right?
No, he's going to be a junior.
Junior in high school next year. You can go back when he was in the second grade and look back on that little hooper, the basketball goal, dunking it. And it's a blink of the eye right there. And you're looking and going, he is going to be a junior in high school. And all of a sudden, these next 2 years are going to go by quick, and he's going to be graduating, walking through the high school graduation on stage. And it goes by so quick.
Yeah. So this weekend, my husband, we were at the tournament. My husband looked at me and he said, we got one more of these, somewhere between junior and senior year. We've got one more. So we really are making an effort to enjoy every moment, every game, every moment, every challenge. And it has put us in a more relaxed state. It's like, well, this is going to be gone at a certain period. Even if Malcolm plays college basketball, that's going to be a different experience, right? That's a whole different system he'll be working through. So the days are numbered, and we're just trying our best to enjoy every moment, the wins, the losses, the effort, the lessons, the struggle, the joy, hitting the free throws, not hitting the free throws, the whole experience. And I want that for every parent. I want every parent to be able to go and enjoy, from the top athlete on the team to the kid who's just trying to figure out his or her coordination, to the kid that just, to the whole spectrum. I want people to enjoy it, because that's what it's really for.
The last thing I'll say, and I'll stop on this, I promise, Lisa, because Jason will knock me out if I don't. But I do want to say this, as you said, when you're done and you look back, what do you remember? The memories. Not so much the trophies and medals. They'll sell in garage sales and go, right? But you're going to look back and you're going to remember memories, and the positive memories. So my challenge for parents to expand their level of awareness, to understand this youth sports, how to navigate your child through it, so you can look back and you can have these positive experiences that become these great memories that you have for you and your family.
I love it. I think we should end on that note. Memories. I feel like we should fade away with that, 80s song, Memories, but it's perfect. So So again, if you're listening, you want to know more, you want to get in touch with Jason and Jim, you want to take their free course, go to 4dathletes.com. You'll find everything you need to know there. I've learned a ton today. So thank you both for being here. And I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Take care. Thank you so much for listening today. I want to personally invite you to head over to thepeacefulparent.com/welcome and sign up for my free Peaceful Parenting mini course. You'll find everything you need to get started on the path to peaceful parenting just waiting for you over there at www.thepeacefulparent.com/welcome. Can't wait for you to get started.
Thanks for listening to Real World Peaceful Parenting. If you want more info on how you can transform your parenting, visit thepeacefulparent.com. See you soon.